Target Japan. Target Japan.
A1.
I think one of the first products must have been cornflakes. Certainly that's the most familiar name to me.
Yeah, the Kellogg's Toasted Cornflakes Company was how it all started, which was the first product.
Who are your main customers in Japan? Do you have any idea of the demographics?
Yeah, and one of the historical aspects of our business here is that it was very slow to develop in the first 25 years and was predominantly driven by a high degree of child consumption. I think anybody you would interview now who was in their 20s or 30s would probably say, yeah, I had cereal when I was a kid, but I don't eat it anymore. That changed dramatically in the late 80s when the cereal business really took off here, and since then there's been a very strong development of adult and a more all-family consumption base. You just mentioned Fruitful Bran earlier on. I mean, that's a product that we've launched, one of many that we're introducing to target more clearly sort of adult usage of cereals.
This is the land of rice. Do Rice Krispies sell well here?
Rice Krispies do not sell well here, principally because we've never really tried. I think there's a big opportunity for rice-based cereal. Choco Krispies, which is a chocolate-coated cereal, is our number 3 brand and is currently doing extremely well in the marketplace. Kellogg's Genmai Flakes, which is a brown rice, is one of our biggest adult consumption brands and was a key part of driving some very significant growth back in the late 80s. Big success. So yeah, I mean, rice is big opportunities.
How is the product distributed here in Japan?
Here, we basically have our own sales force who control all of the ordering and retail negotiations. The physical distribution of the product leaves our factory, goes into the hands of Ajinomoto, who are our physical distributor here. It then disappears into the myriad of the food wholesale system and eventually arrives on a shelf at some to-be-determined date.
That brings up a point. Do you have to use different preservatives or anything here in Japan for cereals?
No.
I'm thinking primarily because it's humid here, perhaps more so than in parts of the United States.
Okay. We basically use different materials here, but with the same basic protective factors that we would do elsewhere in the world. I mean, most people will know that we use a foil metallized liner here, as opposed to in the US it would be predominantly a wax paper type liner. That's not necessarily due to the protective factors, it's more to do with Japanese consumers' perceptions of what's a good and bad liner and how it works. But we don't put any preservatives in the food here, and we don't actually put any preservatives in the liner, which a lot of people in our type of industry do in other countries around the world.
The price of cereal, it's thought by many, is relatively high in Japan.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a perception that cereal is expensive because it's got a high tag price per box. Now, some of that stems from many different sort of perceptions and understanding of the category. Some people think cereal is a snack food that you eat infrequently and tends to be eaten by children. With a ticket price of 400 yen, that's an expensive item, if that's how you think of it. Whereas if you talk to a regular user of cereal who serves it to their family every day, you get 4 servings per box, a minimum of 4 servings per box, in some cases 6. I mean, under 100 yen for a breakfast is actually good value for money. It's really all about perception. It's perceived to be expensive through to a lack of familiarity and understanding of the category, I think.
I remember years ago being in Japan and having cornflakes at a hotel. And the people with me were saying it was unusual to have cornflakes in the home because people didn't often have milk in the home. That's changed?
Oh, yeah, big time. I think when we started here in the 60s, milk was a major issue and its lack of availability. Now I think 100% of Japanese homes would have milk in them.
There used to be, people tell me that Japanese tended not to be able to tolerate milk as well as let's say, Westerners. Is that true? Or?
I think that was true. There was a certain degree of a lactose intolerance problem here way back. But as the diets have changed, now that's not a major issue. I mean, one of the biggest problems with the Japanese diet is a lack of calcium. Of all the major nutrients, it's the one single thing that the Japanese still get minimal quantities of, from young kids through to adults.
Is cereal perceived by the Japanese to be a particularly healthy food?
Historically, I don't think so. I think, unfortunately, we operated this business in some interesting ways when it first started. and very much sold it on the basis of taste and flavour and characters for kids. The last 5-6 years we've really been driving against a nutrition platform focusing on the grains, and we are beginning to make some significant changes in the way people perceive cereals. We compete with rice, we compete with bread, predominantly as the staple food items at breakfast. Just to give an indication of that, we run a lot of research studies, and one of the markets we got a lot of emphasis on is Nagoya, and we just had some numbers this year where we are now perceived to be more nutritious than bread in Nagoya, which is the first time on that particular dynamic we've cracked through, which is a very big shift for us.
The company's been remarkably profitable through the years. It's been a good company to have had investments in. What are your plans for the future in Japan?
In Japan, I think the future is all up. I think the way that lifestyles and dietary habits are changing here, that will create a significant opportunity for ready-to-eat cereal. I think we have the technology, the expertise, and the product range to satisfy almost anything that comes up. We will get bigger and bigger. We are expanding the number of products we have here. We are expanding the size of our operation in terms of number of people. Sales force goes up every year. We're recruiting graduates every year in increasing numbers, both in sales and marketing and other aspects of the business. The factory has plenty of scope for expansion and extra capacity. So it's all forward, but very, very structured, very disciplined, and with a very firm vision of where we want to be, with no sort of flights of fantasy into left field.
Let me ask you one final question, Mark. Think before you answer it. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
What did I have for breakfast? I had raisin bran.
A2. Scott Paper has been in Japan for about 30 years. It's a very well-known company all around the world, but I don't know very much about its history in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of your company's activities here?
Andrew, we have been in Japan for a little over 30 years. We started a joint venture in 1963 with Sanyo Kokosuka Pulp Company, and that venture went very well. It was known as Sanyo Scott. They started introducing tissue products, small roll tissue, facial products into the market. What happened was probably in the late 80s, Scott Paper may not have been paying enough attention to the partner. The partner may have had different ideas about where they were going to take the business. We started to drift apart. Our objectives began to change. In the early 90s, we talked to our partner and asked them to think about a different strategy. The long and the short of it was that we elected mutually to part company in 1991. And Scott Paper, however, did not want to leave Japan because this was a wonderful market. So I was asked to start another business in Japan. And we started Scott Japan, which is a company dedicated strictly to the away-from-home markets. And that is a very different company than we had operated with Sanyo Scott, which was primarily in the consumer markets.
Now, I understand that the Scotty brand that we know, or that Japanese consumers know, is part of a product line of retail, paper products. But I think that you were about to say that you also have a completely different business, which is the commercial aspect of it. Can you explain to us how different that is, where those products go, and what kind of products those are to begin with?
Scott Japan is primarily focused on what I call the away-from-home market, which, if we want to define it a little bit more, would be commercial, institutional, and industrial segments. So it's very different than the grocery store or products that are used in-home. We have 42 million workers in Japan, if you will, people employed outside the home in commercial, industrial, institutional settings. It's an enormous number of people. Those people are using toilet tissue, facials, hand cleaning materials, wipers, and a huge array of products outside the home. And in many cases, the products that they're using have to be different than the products they use in their home. Those differences are what we attempt to, and those problems that people encounter outside the home are what Scott Japan's away-from-home business is attempting to satisfy. So we try to structure our products, we try to design products that will satisfy the needs away from the home.
Are you importing a lot of your paper products now, or are you sourcing them from Japanese producers?
The Scott Japan company, the new company that's working on away-from-home business, is importing 100% of our paper-based products today. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, we do not sell any, zero, small roll tissue, because in Japan, you can get probably the finest tissue quality at the lowest prices in the world. This is a lousy market for small roll tissue. There are over 200 small roll tissue suppliers in the Japanese away-from-home market. And many of them are mom-and-pop type companies who are subsistence companies. So they'll sell at rock-bottom prices. The products I sell, as I've mentioned, are, let's say, innovative or distinctive products. And currently I'm importing my jumbo roll tissue from Malaysia, soon from Taiwan. There's no need to bring it from the U.S. And my plan is in 1996 to have a production site in Japan making that, because my volumes will demand that I make it in Japan. For wiper products, these are cloth replacement wiping materials used in factories, or we can call them textile replacement. I bring in products from the United States because we have a proprietary non-woven material that Scott manufactures, and it's not made in Japan. The investment in paper-making facilities is enormous. So probably for the next 4 to 7 years, we'll be importing our products into Japan.
If you could go into a little bit more detail, are you planning to return, for example, into the home market once your relationship with Sanyo Scott expires, or do you intend to keep that relationship going? What are your plans in general?
Scott Japan is currently focused exclusively at the away-from-home market. We are less than 3 years old. This is a startup company, and our focus for the short to intermediate term, I would say from the next 3 to 7 years, is the away-from-home market. Why? There are much better margins available. We're selling more than just toilet tissue. We sell hand towel systems, we sell soap systems, wiping systems, products that are, as I said before, innovative and distinctive. The growth rates that we have are currently at 30% a year, and the margins are 2 and 3 times that of the consumer business. So certainly in the intermediate term, we have no intentions in Japan of returning to the consumer market. Now, in the long term, who knows what's going to happen.
A3.
Reuters. It's one of the oldest and most prestigious news organizations in the world. Can you tell us, Jeff, briefly how it got started and when it began its operations in Japan?
Well, we started our operations in Japan in 1872, and we recently celebrated our 120th anniversary here. We had 3 offices at that time, one in Yokohama, one in Nagasaki, and one in Hyogo Prefecture. But we now have 2 sales operations, one in Tokyo and one in Osaka. We also have a technical data center in Kiba, which serves the rest of Asia. So the information is brought in to Japan and then distributed from Japan to the rest of Asia.
Who are the main customers of Reuters in Japan?
Our main subscribers here are banks, securities houses, corporations, and individuals for the information services side of the business. But for the news we're distributing our news to all the major newspapers and some of the provincial newspapers. We also have the largest news picture agency in the world, following the acquisition of marketing rights from UPI of news pictures. So we're distributing news pictures. Roughly about 100 pictures a day go out here in Japan to our subscribers.
On the news side, Reuters has joined, I believe, the Keisha Club. I think it's important to be a member of those clubs, but was it easy getting into those clubs?
No, it was extremely difficult getting into the clubs, and in fact we were denied access to those clubs for years, which was very difficult for us to operate competitively without getting access to the clubs. The reason being that the news would be circulated within the clubs, and Reuters and other foreign news agencies outside of the rooms where the news was being distributed got the news some minutes later. So it was a disadvantage really for us. And now that we're actually allowed to be members of all the clubs, we're basically batting on a level playing field with the other Japanese organizations.
How does Japan figure in the overall worldwide network that in fact is Reuters? How does it stand? Where is Japan in terms of size and potential for the future in news?
Well, Japan is the largest reporting bureau in the world. We have 120 staff in the Japan Bureau. That's covering television, pictures, and news, and media products.
Now that the market has slowed down, people are being more careful, it would seem to me that a more programmed approach would be sensible in the foreign exchange business, in the brokerage business, in the stock market. I would think your business is improving as the booming slows down.
What's actually happened is that people have become much more discerning than they were. In the mid to late 80s, when the market was expanding very rapidly, cost was not really a problem. Everybody was registering very, very healthy profits every year. So people weren't paying too much attention to the costs in terms of costs for information vendors, the flow of information coming into the trading rooms. And now it's a different story. I think people are definitely more discerning. They're much more demanding than they were. And now we have to justify our presence along with other vendors in those trading rooms.
Tell me about the automatic transactions business that you're involved in. That seems to be a very powerful, exciting area for the company.
Yes, it is. Going back to what I was saying earlier about providing the total package, what we found was that our subscribers took the information from Reuters, the news and the price data from Reuters. They used our applications to manage that data. And the natural progression from that was to develop transactional products so that they could basically transact their business. And that area is producing about 5% of our revenue now. We have dealing services which enable them to communicate with each other, rather like a computerized telex. And then we moved into the area of automated matching, which I think is probably the most exciting area for us. And we've had a tremendous success in the equities markets with automated matching, and we recently launched a product for the foreign exchange markets. The way it works is that a typical trader would be sitting in front of his screen, and he would see a price that comes up on the screen which he may wish to trade on. What would happen then is he would input the price at which he wishes to trade, and another buyer or seller who may be located in any one of 85 or 90 different centers around the world would input his buy or sell order, and those orders would be matched, automated, in our main data center in London.
Where do you see yourselves 10 years from now in terms of employees and equipment and services?
I would suspect that in 10 years' time we probably will have around 600 to 700 staff servicing not just the main centers, Osaka and Tokyo, but also servicing all the smaller centers all over Japan by satellite. We already have space on the Japan domestic satellite to enable us to deliver our services across Japan. We recently installed a service in the far north of Hokkaido, So we're looking really to spread our products and services across Japan. What we're also looking to do, and what is one of our main objectives, is to become the domestic vendor of choice. And that means a tremendous investment on our part to produce more Japanese language services. We developed a Japanese language news service 2 years ago, which was targeted at the foreign exchange and money market, which has been tremendously successful. And we're now going to, or about to launch, a Japanese language news service for the equities and commodities market later this year. And that will, I hope, help us to penetrate more in the domestic market in Japan, which is where our real growth opportunities lie.
A4.
Tell me, what is the history of Federal Express's success in Japan in numbers?
Well, Federal Express in Japan, we're relatively new. We came to Japan in the mid-1980s. In 1988, when we purchased the Flying Tigers Company, who had been in Japan for many, many years and in Asia for many, many years, and we merged the two companies in 1988. So our success in Japan primarily is after the Flying Tigers merger, where we were able to take all of the great things that Flying Tigers had done in Asia and in Japan for many, many years, and to merge those in with Federal Express. And we're just starting to see the results of that merger.
It's a door-to-door delivery service. It's the kind of thing that's existed within Japan for a number of years, the Takubin system. You do it internationally. Do you see competition coming in from Japanese firms that already have the basis of a delivery system within Japan, who might be going overseas outside Japan?
Yes, there are excellent companies in Japan. In fact, as a side note, we presently have no interest in doing pickup and delivery within Japan, and one of the primary reasons is that the delivery system within Japan from Japanese companies is so successful, and they do such a superb job, is that the competition is very fierce. So we are concentrating primarily on the international markets in and out of Japan. In regard to companies competing with us, there are many Japanese companies who are looking at linking up with international shipments. As an example, Yamato is linked with UPS, and Nitsu is linked with other companies and has worldwide offices. So yes, our competition is fierce in this industry.
When the company was founded originally in Memphis in 1973, the system that was used at that time was called the hub and spoke system. I think may have been something sort of invented or designed by the founder of Federal Express. What is that?
It's a system whereby that the airlines that work on major paired cities, as an example, let's say moving goods between Tokyo and Osaka, would only have to fly one airplane between Tokyo and Osaka. But if the airline was trying to hook up, say, Fukuoka with Tokyo and Osaka, how would you do that? And when you take the ability to link many, many cities within a particular country and link them up with each other, and the ability to fly pairs of cities to and from with one airplane would become very, very expensive and very complicated. So the idea of the spoke system was to pick everything up in the late afternoon, fly it to one location, in this case Memphis, Tennessee, where you could have one hub sorting all of the goods, and within a 2-hour period of time, send those same airplanes back out to those same cities with all of the goods from all over the United States in that case.
If I wanted to send something from Tokyo to London, would it go through that hub in Memphis?
Tokyo to London from here, at the present time, yes, it does go through Memphis, Tennessee. But I think the important thing to understand is that even if it does go into Memphis, our customers lose nothing by that. Gets there just as fast, and we charge no more for it. So we're very competitive based on where it goes and price.
As you know, the new Kansai Airport is scheduled to open later this year. It will be a 24-hour airport, I think. Does that impact your business or change your mind about how you hub and spoke Japan or shipments going in and out of Japan?
Well, with Kansai opening up, and I believe it's September 4th is when it opens, we're very excited about that airport because it will be a 24-hour airport. And what that offers is the ability to pick up very late from customers and to clear goods through customs and to still have the airplane depart at very late in the evening or early in the morning, where we could use all night to process the goods and clear the goods and then move them out. So yes, Kansai and the Osaka area are going to benefit from the 24-hour operation.
What about new hubs in Asia? I understand that you may be considering a hub in the Philippines. Is that true?
Yes. We announced a few months back that we will open a hub in Subic Bay. It'll be where the military base was. The details of it are being worked on right now. We don't have an exact opening date. We're hoping for sometime in January, the first part of next year. And it's going to be very beneficial for our future in Asia.
When you open the hub in the Philippines, how will that relate to your hub system here in Japan, whether it's in Narita or at the Kansai International Airport? Why two hubs within a relatively close area?
Yes, that's a good question, and I think that people have a misunderstanding of what a hub really is. When we refer to a hub, the hub in the Philippines will be for all of Asia, which will be linking up all of the cities within Asia, all the major cities. The exchange point of the hub in Kansai will be for Japan only. So it's kind of, I guess you could kind of refer to that as Kansai will be kind of a mini hub for all of Japan or for Western Japan, whereas Subic will be for all of Asia to link up all of Asia.
I begin to see your commercials more often now on television. I guess that's taking up a larger part of your advertising budget now.
Yes. In fact, in Japan, we made a strategic effort this year to triple our advertising budget for Japan. We are very committed to Japan, and a big part of that is advertising on television. As I understand it, is that if you don't advertise on television in Japan, you have little or no credibility. So that's our plan.
I like the abbreviation FedEx. That's something that seems to fit in with Japan. Is that an abbreviation you use, or are you insisting on Federal Express as being the name of the company?
It's interesting you just asked that question because 2 weeks ago we announced that we changed our name to FedEx. When I first arrived in Japan, my recommendation was to change the name anyhow, but I was pushing to change it only for Japan because of the pain that caused people to pronounce. But we have changed it. We have all new colors, which you will see a lot of in the next coming year. And so we're very proud of it. It's going to be FedEx.
Oh, great. Good for you. What a good idea.
This is the end of Side A.